much. Hello again, everyone. Dr. Muneeb, your mission at Trust Machines is to build the largest ecosystem of Bitcoin applications and to really take Bitcoin to 1 billion people. And as you know, an on-chain world requires current tech to scale for mass adoption. What solutions are being developed to solve for this in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think this is what I briefly touched in my presentation already. And in many ways, I know Sandeep has done a lot of work in Ethereum. We're actually taking a bunch of lessons from Ethereum. Like even Ethereum needed Ethereum layer 2s for scalability. And those layer 2 solutions are a bit harder to implement on Bitcoin because think of Bitcoin as an older, more clunky technology that is more limited. So it took sort of like longer to figure out how to build good Bitcoin L2s like Stacks or the other ones that are coming up. And I think that's the key work. Like as that infrastructure is getting built and deployed, you'll see like real scalability happen around Bitcoin.
Sandeep, in an increasingly interconnected blockchain space, which you actually touched upon earlier in our conversation, what do you see as the most crucial elements in building secure and scalable infrastructure for a fully on-chain world?
Yeah, I think it needs two main components. And when we talk about these layer 1s and layer 2s, like actually what we are really talking about is basically execution environments, means where you execute the code, and the settlement environment, the environment that is providing you the security. Like in case of Polygon, the security is provided by Ethereum, and then the execution environment is provided by Polygon's technology. In case of Stacks, the execution is Stacks chain, and then the settlement and the security is being provided by Ethereum, right? By Bitcoin. And I think like we see that in that form. In fact, like Polygon's technology, is also for future. Like how we are building is that those settlement layers, like if Bitcoin, for example, evolves to be a better settlement layer, I think a lot of volume, like even in the Ethereum layer 2, community will move to Bitcoin. For example, Starkware is already like trying to do something on the Bitcoin side also, and with this opcat, which is a new opcode coming in, which is doing. The second thing, like we believe that after these like execution and these environments, the settlement environment, one important thing is going to be interoperability, because these are all separate execution environments, and a lot of applications will be on one environment, other applications will be on other environment, like the internet, right? Like you have a lot of applications hosted in US, a lot of applications hosted in China, this, that. But when we connect to internet, we don't think about like I am interacting with the internet of US or I'm interacting with it, and I don't have to bridge and all that. It all happens behind the scenes. And I think that is the interoperability part. And I think we believe in the interoperability part a lot. Like, and now in the last 1.5 years, Polygon has more and more pivoted into that interoperability part, and which enables us now to work with, like, let's say even Bitcoin L2 like Stack, who are the pioneers in that space, and obviously in the Ethereum and other ecosystem, other L1 ecosystems also. So these are the two important elements.
And Dr. Muneeb, Stacks is partnering with both Aptos and with Solana. Will we see more collaboration across chains to build the right infrastructure for mainstream adoption?
Yes. So I think the way we think about this is Stacks is heavily integrated with Bitcoin. Like we operate very close to Bitcoin, and we try to take the Bitcoin. It's almost like think of Bitcoin base layer as a cold storage. Right? Like if you're just saving Bitcoin and you don't want to do anything interesting with it, you keep it in cold storage. And Stacks is kind of like your hot wallet. When you move it from layer 1 to layer 2, and now in the hot wallet, you can purchase NFTs, you can swap with stablecoin, whatever interesting things you want to do, you do there. But once we have solved the challenge of how to bring Bitcoin in a very secure, decentralized way, in a more programmable environment, then you can take it to other chains as well, very easily, because Stacks can very easily integrate with other things. And of course, there's demand for BTC Capital on Solana, on Aptos, and they see the value of bringing good Bitcoin liquidity. And the asset, like Bitcoin is, in my view, is the pristine asset, right? Like that's the thing that most people want to hold and use, but it was not very usable for the longest time. And I think once that is changing, there is appetite for these ecosystems to try and bring a programmable Bitcoin there. And that's what we saw with Aptos sort of like, trying to work with stacks, and we are trying to bring that to Solana too.
And Sandeep, I mean, in the journey towards a connected on-chain world, what role do you see collaboration between blockchain ecosystems playing, and how is Polygon really leading the way in these efforts?
Yeah, as I said that, we believe that interoperability between blockchains is going to become more and more significant. And what I was also saying that we are already, like today, I think Uniswap also announced, their own chain. And my thesis is that once the interoperability is solved and the trustlessness is solved for these chains, trustless is almost, already solved with the layer 2s. Once the interoperability and composability between the chains is solved, very few apps will exist on public shared chains. They will all want to exist on their own servers, their own chains. And in that environment, interoperability is going to be very important. And for that interoperability, for any interoperability to be successful, they would have to integrate with other chains, right? So, for example, in case of Polygon, also we have like similar kind of like for other layer ones, like Near. We intend to work with, like, obviously with the Stacks and Aptos, Sui, all the other chains also. And as Muneeb was saying, that Bitcoin, for example, in case of Stack, is very, very important for DeFi ecosystem as a whole. For that biggest asset of the industry should be able to come into the DeFi ecosystem. And so we are like taking steps to integrate with as many chains as possible.
Dr. Muneeb, how do you view the transition from Bitcoin from a passive asset to a productive asset, and what use cases are Bitcoiners really asking for first?
Yes, so I think the type of use cases I've seen are a lot of people don't want to sell their Bitcoin. They view that as something precious, something valuable, but they do want to get some liquidity against it, like without taking risk of like centralized places, right? So things that people can do today on Ethereum and on Solana, you can take your ETH, you can put it in Aave and take a stablecoin loan. Right? That basic functionality doesn't exist for Bitcoin right now. And there are a lot of people, and I think it's actually more needed in Bitcoin because people have this belief that this is a very valuable asset. I want to own it, but maybe I want to get 10% liquidity for my holdings as stable coins, but I don't want to sell. I don't want to get a tax hit. I don't want to go and actually liquidate my Bitcoin. So basic things like that, I think they could be very large use cases just because the asset class is so big. Right? It's $1 trillion of capital. So if you start unlocking some of that, I think it's going to be a lot of liquidity that actually enters the industry because Bitcoin is, as I said, just sitting passively mostly.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a bit about security, Sandeep. How is Polygon really empowering developers to create applications that can operate across multiple chains while maintaining high security and performance?
Yeah. So the security for any of these chains to interact with each other, that comes in two forms, right? One is like obviously where everybody is working is like called full execution proofs. That means whatever was executed was executed correctly by the other chain. And that has like, traditionally had optimistic approaches. And recently in the last 2 years, ZK, zero knowledge technology, has become very popular. And we use primarily like Polygon is, one of the pioneers in the ZK space. And now like Polygon's technology like Plonky 2, Plonky 3 is basically the bedrock of most of the ZK solutions these days. And so basically that full execution proof with ZK, that is first layer, but for that you have to spend a lot of money. Like every chain, let's say Solana, to prove the whole Solana chain, you will have to, pay a lot of money to generate those proofs. It's compute intensive. But then we came up with the second, form, which we called something called pessimistic proof. It's basically nothing but a chain level accounting. So each chain, the accounting of the assets that are inside the AG layer, which is our interoperability solution, each chain basically creates a proof of the accounting of those particular assets, and they cannot lie about that using ZK proofs. And then what happens is that all the chains connected together, it creates like a single chain environment across those chains, like because all of those chains essentially are deriving for those assets that are inside the AG layer, are deriving the single security of AG layer. So that for the end user starts making it feel like one single chain. So an end user might have assets on 100 different chains, and he can simply click and the assets can move from one chain to another, interact with other smart contracts without the fear of whether my chain goes down on security or the receiving chain goes on security. So that's the fundamental layer we are enabling, which is very, very small in compute, and every chain can join that interoperability layer.
We have 10 seconds. I just want a one-word answer from both of you, or a one-sentence answer. What will be the next big innovation in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Opcat is innovation. Like, I mean, this is the opcode everybody is expecting in Bitcoin.
Dr. Muneeb.
I think these wrapped Bitcoin assets, they start going everywhere, right? So people will see actual good liquidity around these assets.
Thanks so much for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.